We're coming off an ugly Thursday night football, but we've come up with 3 winners in our last 4 shows. It's time to find some new winners for Week 9 of the Sunday slate for the NFL. This is the Player Profiler Pick and Power Hour, starting now. Welcome back to the Player Profiler Pick and Power Hour. We're your hosts, Ahaan Rungta, Trevor Tipton, coming off a Titans versus Steelers game that lived up to the promise when it came to how ugly a Titans versus Steelers game could be. Couldn't hit our collab, but that's okay. Still hit 3 of our last. We still hit an entry in 3 of our last 4 shows. Trevor, you went with Pickens, and we discussed briefly Diontae Johnson. I think my biggest takeaway from the Steelers side for this game was Diontae Johnson was always and still is much better than George Pickens. And that's really the only takeaway I had from this game.
I mean, that's how I feel about Warren. Like, I like Warren, and I just, right, like nobody's ran on Tennessee yet this season like the Steelers did. That was actually the most surprising to me of the game was I liked Warren. I'm just like, man, like Tennessee's run D has been so good this year. And then they just ran on him all game. Even Najee ran on him. Like, even slow, broke old Najee, who's only in his like early 20s, and I call him old, broken, slow. So, yeah, it's been one of those days. It happens. So yeah. It's I mean, he is right. He is who he is. Like, the one thing that was the bummer was we also had, I personally bet Pickens for over his longest reception, and Pickett missed him on that wide open cross route where he would have cleared it by 15 yards. So, right, that was just kind of how the night went. Yeah, Levis looked like a rookie. You know, he made some mistakes, but if you don't think he's an upgrade over Tannehill, you're not watching football. Yeah. So it's fun. And if you saw the disgusted look on my face as the show was starting, it was because I logged back over to my underdog tab and see that my picks have gone up dramatically in yardage in the last 30 minutes. Literally the last 30 minutes before the show. And it's not a little number. So I think I'm going to stick with them, but I got to decide.
Yeah. So, I mean, while we do that, I mean, just I'll add some more commentary on the Titans side of what we saw. And I think from Will Levis, what we saw was a little bit of what you mentioned in the last show, and a little bit of what I mentioned is you mentioned the little double hitch he does, thinking a little too much about some throws. That shovel backwards pass he made where he was down by contact, that was a little bit of what we saw at Kentucky where he would have to be rushed and do some stupid things. And then, of course, the pick at the end, trying to force things down the field. It's going to happen, right? And we can't expect – even C.J. Stroud, who I had as my QB1 of the class, and I still have as my QB1 of the class. Even C.J. Stroud, he's gotten away with some mistakes. He's made mistakes, right? It's a learning curve. But what we saw, within 10 minutes of the game, within those first couple of drives by the Titans, I think Des Bryant and I tweeted this at exactly the same time, was there have been multiple throws made today that neither Ryan Tannehill nor Malik Willis would have made. So we're going to see both from Will Levis.
Yep. The throw he made for me to Kyle Phillips on that out route, that was the throw for me. Like, Ryan Tannehill can't make that throw anymore. I don't know that Ryan Tannehill could ever make that throw, but Tannehill was, obviously an NFL level quarterback, but that's the throw for me that, like, I don't know how you can watch that throw and think, oh, Malik Willis, we played him ahead of this kid. Like, I'll never understand the front offices and coaching. Like, I'll never get that side of it.
And speaking of not understanding front offices and coaching, I also may or may not have angrily tweeted about the play calling on offense from both sides. And for the Steelers, I think we've kind of seen it all season where the amount of blame you can place between Kenny Pickett being bad at football and Matt Canada also having no creativity it's a seesaw game, right? But with the Titans last night, with the game definitely not over, you're running it up the gut every single time, and then now you're down. Now that you're down on fourth down, DeAndre Hopkins is going to get double teamed, and the most creative play calling you could come up with is a go route 30 yards down the field to Treylon Burks, who got hurt on that play. But that was frustrating for me. And if George Pickens got his job done, I would be even more frustrated because we were also on the Will Levis higher than 202.5 passing yards. Bro had 154 at halftime. So a whole lot of nonsense we saw in the second half of that game.
Yeah, I mean, D-Hop had 11 targets, only 4 catches, and he had 4 catches in the first half. Hopkins didn't have 1 catch in the second half. Like, you have to scheme him open. But you brought it up, those 2 run plays. Like, I don't understand. Like, why don't you, like, override your OC? Like, you can't run the ball twice there. Like, you just can't do it. That was
right.
Wow. And then that last pick, we actually laddered Levis up. So I was on Levis early. I thought he was going to have a good game. You heard me talk. I talked to some people about it. I was actually talking with Billy Muzio, and he was asking me about it. And I was like, listen, Minka's out. My issue is with Minka out, and we saw it. Minka out. Minka's the quarterback of that defense. There were some blown coverages. But that last drive, if he just completes the pass, he doesn't even have to score the touchdown. If he completes the pass, he also hits a 275 ladder, which was like another unit and a half. I mean, we made money on it, but he could have had 275 for us. So that was, and if it would have been to D-Hop, that would have been like really nice. But I digress. It is what it is. Yeah. So let's get going because a couple of these pick'ems have moved significantly. A lot. So I don't want to lose anymore and have to redo my whole show sheet.
Yep. New bags to make for week 9. Much better slate. Right before we get into these picks, let's hear a quick word from the Podfather.
Now, as we at PlayerProfiler have become a full-blown machine learning company, the crowning achievement has to be the injury finder. We're now taking BMI data and injury history data and assigning a probability that a player is injured on any given touch. And not only can you see a player's fragility rating, their injury risk, we also have analysis from professional physical therapists breaking down all the major players that underwent surgery last year and what their rehabilitation looks like heading into 2023. There's a tool to compare players. There's a database where you can say, show me all the foot injuries, show me all the severe injuries, show me all the injuries requiring surgery. It provides you the key market intelligence to know what is the difference in probability that player X versus player Y will miss games this year. It's great for fantasy football, and it also just satisfies your curiosity as a fan. Go to the App Store, go to Google Play, download it. It's $5 every year just to reload the latest injury predictions and fragility ratings. The 2023 data is live now. Open your phone and get smarter.
Back on the Pick 'em Power Hour, where we are about to talk some Week 9 winners. Shout out to Chef, who's in the chat joining us. We are doing the bonus show right now. If you want early leans for Sunday, head over to the DFS Dominator on PlayerProfiler.com. Go to the Underdog Pick Generator, and you will see this week we have 16 picks that we like. As of this afternoon, and we're about to pick some of our favorites, but these projections are moving by the minute. So, Trevor, kick us off. Give us some winners.
So I'm torn right now because one just came up that hasn't been up. So I'll tell everybody where we're at. So we were planning on, I was actually going to follow Ahaan and do a little 3-piece this week because I really like the matchup. And literally 30 minutes before the show, when I finished my notes, Derek Carr of the New Orleans Saints was at 246.5 pass yards for the game. He is currently at 254.5 on underdog. It might not seem like a lot, but that's like a 5% move. That's a lot. I think he's going to throw for 300 against this Bears team. Like, they're just not running the ball. New Orleans just isn't going to run. It's not what they're doing. And so the other thing that just came up that I really like is Michael Pittman is 5 receptions for Indy right now against Carolina. So it's there. But I think I'm going to stick with Carr. I'm going to eat the yards. I think he's throwing for 300, and I'll kind of break down why. Oh, awesome. And my other pick just completely disappeared from the board. Okay, that was fun. Did it really disappear from the board?
Let's let me do a quick.
My gosh, I am going to throw up. I'm going to throw out. This is good for the show. So DeAndre Swift, 20 minutes ago, was 13.5 rushing attempts. Oh, it just came back. Thank goodness. Okay. Let's get the show on the road. We're rolling. I'm not losing any more. I'm not losing any more value. So we're going to start with Derek Carr. This is going to be the Speedy Gonzalez breakdown. So real simple, right? We've seen since Carr came back, he's thrown for 353, 301, 310. You know, bear in mind, right, the Bears, while they traded for Sweat, they have not been good, right? Like, they gave up like 400 to Howell this year. They have given up the fourth most yards and the second highest catch rate in the NFL at 69.7 per 6. They're giving up 101 passer rating with a 7.3 ADOT, and they are 31st in Dova pass defense. The Bears just aren't good on pass D, period, the end. New Orleans is passing almost 60% of the time now. And the thing I really like is New Orleans is now tied for third in the NFL at play time, and they're running a play every 25.6 seconds. So, and that went down a little bit when Carr was out. So that's for the whole season. That's back up with him, with him in. They're averaging close to a league-leading 70 plays a game. And Carr has one of the best ADOTs in the NFL at 9.1. So I really liked it a lot more at 246.5, but I also think he's throwing for 300 in this game on the Bears. So we're going to add that in with what is probably my favorite pick'em of the week, which is Rashid Shaheed. Shout out Debro, who got me to look at him in the offseason. Debro was a big guy on him. I don't always agree with him, but this one he got me to go do a deep dive on him. And I'm a big Rashid fan. We've actually won another pick'em this season with him already. We're going back to it. See above why. Now this was 28.5 yards 20 minutes ago. So, but it's up to 31.5. I don't really think it makes that much a difference for him. It's simple for me. See everything I just said about the Bears' pass defense above, but he's also second on the team in air yards now, and he's got a 17.4 ADOT. Like, that's a massive ADOT, guys. Now, he's not going to get as many targets as everybody else, but with that ADOT at 31.5 yards, and with the lines moving up, what that's telling us is Vegas is probably taking on money on these overs, and they're adjusting their lines. So that's there. He's averaging 59.9 yards a game, and he's getting designed. Here's the one thing I really like. It's tied for first on their team for designed plays. He's getting 10.5% of them. Only Taysom Hill gets as many as Shaheed. So that's something I really like. They're designing specific plays to go after him. That is double Olave and triple Michael Thomas. That's a big number for me. That's what I want to see. In the last 5 games, he has 24 targets. Here's a big one, guys. I want you to think about this. This is a shout out for the Podfather. Even Quentin Johnson had 50 yards versus the Bears. So, and if you've listened to the Podfather at all, you know what he thinks of the Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver, and it's not high. And out of the last 5 games, the 2 he's missed on the 28.5 line, obviously it's a little different now. He lost on the hook. So he lost it on the hook. But again, I like this spot for him versus the Bears. I like what the New Orleans is doing to open it up with the pass offense. So we're going to stack this game. And then as you guys saw, you heard me add in, we're going with DeAndre Swift. So pure rush attempts, 13.5. Why do I like this? So since week 2, Swift is, week 1, I don't even look at week 1 as counting because he basically didn't play. Everybody watched the Eagles go week 1 and they're like, you traded for DeAndre Swift, right? But since week 2, he's only missed this line once. Dallas is middle of the pack on rush attempts allowed. He has 45% of the team's rush attempts this season. That's even with the 2. He only had 2 in week 1, guys, and he still has 45% of the seasons. This is a game script for me. I think the Eagles also will want to keep the ball out of Dallas's hands. While they've made some trades, the Eagles defense is very good. This game bodes well to the Eagles just grinding it into the ground against Dallas, right? Using Jalen. I like Jalen's rush, opportunities in this game. And what I really think it's going to do is when they keep pounding the ball at him, it's going to open up that play action. And you've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think there's anybody in the NFL playing better than A.J. Brown right now. Quarterback, receiver, D-end, any position on any player of the field, I think A.J. Brown is playing the best. Dallas has also given up 14-plus rush attempts to basically every number one back they've faced. And then the big one for me, Lane Johnson's finally healthy. So they get a healthy Lane Johnson back, which is a big deal. They'll be able to run the ball a little more. And I think it just really – the run game is going to open up the pass offense here. And Swift's usage, as you heard us say, has been off the chart. He's continuing to get 15, 16, 18. He's even had a 20-plus rush attempts this season. I think this is a spot there that they have to focus on A.J. Brown, especially with Diggs out. They have to focus on Devonta. They have to account for Goddard. There's so many weapons that I think this is going to open the door for Swift to have a big game. And we're going to go with the 3-pack and lock it in before it moves even more.
Wonderful. I mean, DeAndre Swift is someone that I've been high on for years, and when he was with the Lions, it was a little frustrating not seeing him used great. And then when he went to the Eagles, I was like, I was completely wrong about being scared of that committee, right? I thought, well, Jalen Hurts is going to do a lot of running. They have a lot of good receivers. They have Kenneth Gainwell as well. And I kind of got lost in the mix of all of that, not realizing, man, if DeAndre Swift, it just gets paired with a good offensive line, he can do really good things for a really good offense, and I overthought it. And here we have DeAndre Swift being pretty much a bell cow for this offense. So I like it in a game that I think Philly. I feel like we lost. I lost to Tony Pollard over last week because the Dallas Cowboys never play in a normal game script. This feels like a spot where it should be a normal game script, right? Because the Dallas Cowboys do a lot of things well and a lot of things poorly. And the Eagles' secondary this year has not been good. So I think it should be a good matchup. And it's why one of my picks is also from this game. Chef asked, would it be better if you just do the receiving instead of the rushing plus receiving in case he gets an end around?
So my worry with that is if he gets an end, my worries on those are always, what if he gets an end around and he loses 10 yards and then you lose the prop? That's the pick 'em. Like that's I tend not to do a lot of those for that reason. It's the downside for me isn't as good as the upside. And like I said, I mean, Swift has gone for 28, 16, 14, 17, 15, 16. Like he's getting the rush attempts. And as you said, they know their secondary hasn't been great. Like they have thrown on the Eagles. Well, the Eagles have been thrown on. How do you slow that down? You just don't let Dak and the Cowboys get the ball, right? Yeah. You take your running backs and you go grind them into the ground. And I think they can do that here.
Uncle Ted says, what's up? What is up, Uncle Ted? Thanks for joining us. Trevor has just locked in his three-piece for this week. Derek Carr higher on passing yards. Rashid Shaheed higher on receiving yards. DeAndre Swift higher on rushing attempts for half a unit. That's the three-piece, and you can get that at a 5 times payout. That's the beauty of stacking, because Underdog won't take into account the positive correlation between the two pieces of that stack, and you get a 5 times payout for those 3 picks. It's how I got on the board last week. I remember that. I'm going back to a 2-piece this week myself, though, because I didn't find a stack that necessarily jumped off the page. I will say, though, I really like the Saints situation against the Bears this week, and one of the reasons that I don't have a Saint on my final entry is because I couldn't decide whether I love Chris Olave at the number more than Rashid Shaheed. I think Michael Thomas could have a big game. I think Juwan Johnson could finally have a game. So I actually like that entire situation so much that I didn't want to have to decide. But I'm probably going to put in a stack from that game in another entry, and maybe I'll drop it in the Player Profiler Discord for this 100K Sunday special. Probably going to mix in a few of my picks as well for this 100K Sunday special. Each week, Underdog is giving away thousands of dollars, and all you got to do is include this pick. And this week, I had Zay Flowers.
I actually have Kamara over 92.5 total yards. So, yeah, so that's one. Like, Kamara was a thought, but I'm like, I'll probably use Kamara for my, I'll use Kamara for my 100K and then kind of tie it in stack-wise. So, yeah, and again, you guys have heard me say it all season. I like Shaheed because he can break this in one play, right? He's getting the ADOT. You got a guy that's getting over 17 ADOT. So, I like it. And I just peeked at what Ahaan's going with this week, and I like how it ties in actually to my games. It ties in with my thought process to the game script.
Yeah, and I'll start off with that pick. I'm also staying in this Eagles-Cowboys game. I think there's value here with going for something that you don't see on the board too often. And part of the reason you don't see it is because it's juiced up to like minus 150 sometimes on sports books. But I'm taking the Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown. This is partially a narrative play and partially just I think it's good value as a pick 'em. So staying with this Eagles game, everything that Trevor explained, I'm on the same page. You have to run the football on the Dallas Cowboys. They rank number 23 in run stop win rate, but where they can beat you is they force turnovers in the secondary with their good secondary, even without Trayvon Diggs. Bland is playing amazing this year. And their pass rush ranks number 2 in the NFL, right? So you don't want to step back and have to make a lot of decisions. Even for a quarterback as good as Jalen Hurts, they'll still want to run the football, and Philly wants to run the football. And you obviously agree with me on this with the swift rushing attempts. So if Jalen Hurts drops back anywhere inside the red zone, I feel like he can scramble and get this. But obviously the reason I would go after Jalen Hurts to find the end zone would be the goal line usage with the quote-unquote tush-push. I feel like that's the first time I've actually said those words out loud instead of just typing them. And all of a sudden it sounds weird. So let's just say Jalen Hurts will be used at the goal line, right? His 8 attempts inside the 5 leads NFL quarterbacks by huge margin. The second most is 4 by Josh Allen, right? So he's going to be used at the goal line. And the narrative here is they fumbled for the first time on that play against the Commanders last week. Do you think Nick Sirianni is the type of dude to be at the goal line and not just go right back to one of the most reliable plays in football history? I think they go right back to it, and if they get near the goal line, they're going to try it. And I don't think Dallas has an answer to stop it. Hurts has scored in 5 out of his 8 games so far. I'll buy the dip on taking a pick that's usually not on the board because we're getting the discount of they're facing the Cowboys defense. And by the way, Vegas thinks that Philly will have no problem scoring. Their implied Vegas team total is 24.75 right now. That's the 4th highest on the slate. So I don't think the Eagles are going to have a lot of trouble scoring. They'll visit the goal line a few times, and when they do, Hurts punches wood in.
Yeah, I love that there. Listen, everybody found out they were complaining, and then all these teams started trying to run it. And then they all realized, oh, we can't actually execute it like Philly is because we don't have the best center in the NFL, and we don't have one of the best O-lines, and we don't have a quarterback that squats 500 pounds, right? Like, those are all things like they forget in this situation. One of the things that helps is Jalen Hurts squats 500 pounds, guys. Like, he's a monster. There's no other quarterbacks that are even close. So, again, I think when he scores, that's off the board again, and Underdog's not giving us. So I like how you tied that in.
Perfect. And we got Chef asking in the chat before my second pick about Josh Jacobs. I think it's a good time to address that Josh Jacobs in my preseason articles was my topmost under pick of the season. Looking pretty good so far. You want to fade guys that are coming off leading the NFL in touches. And on the season long, it looks like he's going to go under his total rushing yards. Against the Giants, he's probably getting a softest matchup all year. I personally think that is a completely fair line. They don't have to worry about any sort of quarterback play in Las Vegas. Whether or not they were starting Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, they're starting Aiden O'Connell now, or right? So I don't think they're going to have to worry much about quarterback play. Can he get this, on the ground because the Giants can't stop the run? Sure. Can he get this receiving? Also, sure. But also, he's not going to be the number one priority against a Giants defense that doesn't lock up wide receiver ones per se, right? You still got Devontae Adams ahead in the depth chart. You still got Jacoby Myers as the number 2, and Michael Mayer is also emerging. So this is the perfect stay away situation and maybe stay away game for me, because this game happened to be I'm pretty sure this game is the only one on the Sunday slate where we don't have a pick on the generator from this game. Like, there's so many good games to go to in this slate. I'm fine with staying away. But maybe this is a Josh Jacobs breakout week. Anyway, I'm pairing Jalen Hurts with something from the 1 o'clock slate. And the last time I went to last time I went over to a Patriots game on the underdog board, it was about as ugly as it can get. But for the most part, right, I have been picking the wrong picks on stream a lot this season, but for the most part, if you check out the pick generator, most of our Patriots picks have actually been fine, because I'm actually getting a solid read of how sorry this team is. Regardless, the Patriots are actually favored this week, which is insane to say, without Christian Gonzalez, without Matthew Judon. But there's reasons why, and it's the Commanders are not very good themselves. But I'm targeting, no pun intended, I'm targeting Logan Thomas here. I targeted him a couple weeks ago on the receptions when I went with the rivals option, and I took him to have more receptions than Jahan Dotson. And that just happened to be the moment Jahan Dotson came back to the face of the earth and has reemerged in this offense. I don't have to worry about that here. Logan Thomas didn't let me down that week, and he's not going to let me down this week. I think this is a super low number in this situation. So first off, the weather is just fine. They should be able to pass the ball. I know there were some concerns that it was going to be snowy a little bit earlier in the week, but that's not the case anymore. It's all clear. They're going to pass the ball. If you believe the Patriots are going to win this game, they are favored by Vegas. If you believe the Patriots are going to win this game, you have to think that the Washington Commanders are going to have to pass the ball. If they have to pass the ball, obviously it's going to be conducive to receptions. But also, I specifically want to target Logan Thomas here because the Patriots, even with the loss of Judon and Christian Gonzalez over the last 4 weeks, they have actually done a fine job against opposing number 1 options. And in this case, that would be a Terry McLaurin. And Tyreek Hill, obviously the exception to all these rules, but Davante Adams didn't get much action, right? He didn't have a quarterback to get him that action, and the Patriots did just fine against Davante Adams. But what the Patriots have given up in this 4-week span is the short route guys, right? Whoever's playing that short route role, they're getting all the catches that they want. They're letting the other offense have the easy ones. Over the last 4 weeks alone, the Saints running backs, Kendra Miller and Alvin Kamara, who obviously we know Derek Carr and company are obsessed with that, they combined for 7 catches. Jacoby Myers and Michael Mayer in that Raiders game had more catches than Davante Adams. They had 5 catches each. Dalton Kincaid, the Bills, had 8 catches in that close game. Durham Smythe last week, the tight end that barely gets any pass catching action, had 3 catches. In the same game, the Tyreek Hill and Waddle combined for 15 catches against New England. This week, Curtis Samuel is out again, which means Logan Thomas is the short route guy. He's cleared this in 4 out of 6 of his healthy games, and he averages 6.2 targets per game in those contests. The Patriots, they rank number 5 in run stop win rate. That's the one thing they've done well all season long is they stop the run. You can't just run it down. You can't just march down the field with the run, especially with Brian Robinson, someone who's not going to create much himself. And they do rank number 19 in pass rush win rate. We've seen all season long that Sam Howell's biggest issue has been when he's under pressure, he's not making great decisions, and he's been taking a lot of sacks. That's changed over the last few weeks, and it showed with Logan Thomas's usage. He's getting more and more usage each week because Sam Howell is learning he has to take the easy ones down the middle. So I'm going to buy low still. I still feel like this is a buy low on Logan Thomas. I feel like this might be the last week. If Curtis Samuel's not back for another few weeks, next week you might see Logan Thomas start to hang around 4.5 receptions because his role is pretty solid in this offense, even with the emergence of Jahan Dotson. So that's my two-piece. Jalen Hurts to score, Logan Thomas, 4 catches. I'm going to lock it in before I get projections moved on me for half a unit. It's my two-piece.
Oh, and I just saw why the line moved. The Bears, if they would have waited 30 more minutes, it would have been wonderful for our show. Tremaine Edmonds is out this week.
Big news.
Yeah, I love it even more now. I get the 10-yard jump. Totally makes sense. I actually really like my play now. I knew something had to have happened. I didn't expect Tremaine to be out. I mean, that's their defensive leader. He's their best defensive player. Derek Carr might throw for 400 yards this week now. He might be a fantasy darling, especially in DFS with that going.
That's who when Jason Allwine, our social media and content guy, asked us for starts of the week by email. I should have said Derek Carr instead of Taylor Heineke just for Drake London to be ruled out the next day. Anyway, that's enough of my rant. Daniel says I love Hurts over half an interception. Interception props in the NFL this year, if you take them on the books, especially the plus money ones, have been money this year. I could see Jalen Hurts throwing a pick against a good Cowboy secondary, but obviously we both like the Eagles to run the ball in this game. So that's where we're at. Once again, the 3-pick, Trevor has locked in Derek Carr higher on passing yards, Rashid Shaheed higher on receiving yards, DeAndre Swift higher on rushing attempts. And for me, I'm locked in a 2-piece Jalen Hurts over half a touchdown, rushing plus receiving, and Logan Thomas higher than 3.5 receptions. We've come up with 3 winners in our last 4 shows. 1 from you, 1 from me, and 1 on a collab. We got to continue this mojo. And since I mentioned Jason, if you want more player profiler talk about these games, right after game time, before you get to see our beautiful faces next week on Wednesday, head over to our morning show run by Jason Allwine. Wake and Take every weekday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and chop it up with him in there, because I think this Week 9 slate is going to be awesome. I think we're going to make a lot of money. It's one of the better slates, I feel like, given how many injuries we've had over the last few weeks. It's one of the better slates. I think we're going to make a lot of money. So get it all out with Jason on Monday morning before you see us on Wednesday. And if you want to see more underdog pick'ems, we already have leans. Some of the projections have moved. We have underdog pick'em leans for this Sunday on the DFS Dominator on PlayerProfiler.com and the underdog pick generator. And join us every Wednesday and Friday for this show, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. Trevor, it's been good. Let's go 5-0 this week for Week 9, and we'll see everybody next week.
Have a good week, everybody.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.